The period of time known as the Wild West in the history of the United States evokes mental pictures of desolate landscapes, anarchy, and legendary figures roaming the frontier. Gunfighters were among these figures, and they were people who frequently found themselves in conflict with the law or working on the margins of society. The bounty hunters were in a distinct position within this large and varied community. They used their knowledge and expertise to locate those who owed debts in the form of monetary or material obligations. John Riley Duncan, a Texas Ranger who built a name for himself in the pursuit of justice, is one example of the legendary bounty hunter type. Let's have a look at the story of John Duncan, Wild West bounty hunter. John Riley Duncan was the son of James and Catherine Duncan and was born on September 25, 1850, in the north-central region of Kentucky. While he was growing up on the family farm, he gained an appreciation for the worth of labor and forged a close relationship with his brothers. But the beginning of the American Civil War in 1861 shattered the tranquil existence they had built for themselves. James Duncan, John's biological father, answered the call to join the Confederate Army and ended up leaving the family behind. John, who was only a young child at the time, was not old enough to serve alongside his father in the military. Instead, he and his brothers took up the responsibility of running the family farm and contributing as much as they could to the betterment of their community. James Duncan returned to his family in 1865 at the conclusion of the war, but it was difficult for them to find a stable living situation. James and Catherine's efforts to start a number of different small enterprises in their hometown in rural Kentucky were unsuccessful, so they decided to look for new prospects in the West. The Duncan family packed up their belongings and headed west in the early 1870s, eventually settling in the Texas area now known as Dallas. The family had high hopes for their future in Dallas because it was a flourishing industrial town with a variety of exciting opportunities. Butchering was the family business for both John and his father, and one of John's brothers went on to seek a career in land management. The Duncans eventually became a part of the expanding town, which had a population of almost 10,000 people by the year 1875. This occurred over time. Because of the surge in violent incidents and overall criminal activity caused by the growing population, it became necessary to increase the size of the police force. John Duncan recognized this as a chance to be of service to his community and consequently joined the Dallas Police Department. In spite of the fact that he lacked experience in gunfighting, he rapidly demonstrated his value by performing admirably in a variety of jobs, including picking up stray animals and arresting disruptive individuals. John went from being a butcher to a respected lawman in a relatively short time, garnering the admiration of his contemporaries and the community as a whole in the process. In the spring of 1877, the authorities in Texas were faced with the difficult task of apprehending the legendary bandit John Wesley Hardin, who was most known for his participation in the Sutton-Taylor feud. The Texas Rangers sought John Duncan's assistance since they were aware of his abilities and the depth of his familiarity with the area's more remote communities. John went undercover in Gonzales County, Texas, and while there he was able to intercept a letter that indicated Hardin had been using a small rural hamlet along the Alabama-Florida border as a safe haven. The letter contained information that John was able to use. Now that John had this important knowledge, he shared it with the other Texas Rangers in his unit before heading to the southeast part of Alabama. While there, he painstakingly pieced together evidence and eventually found another lead pointing to Hardin's whereabouts. John's doggedness and creativity were critical in reducing the size of the area that needed to be searched, which in turn increased the possibility that the fugitive outlaw would be captured. John finally found Hardin's hiding place after putting in a lot of effort over weeks of inquiry, which led to a tense standoff. John's competence with weaponry and his capacity to retain his composure in high-pressure situations was on full display during the confrontation. John was able to outmaneuver Hardin, who was known for being a fearsome gunslinger. As a result, John ultimately successfully captured the legendary outlaw and brought him to jail. The fact that John Duncan was able to successfully apprehend John Wesley Hardin raised his standing among the Texas Rangers and the larger law enforcement community. It was not long before word of his prowess as a bounty hunter began to spread over the entirety of the Wild West, which resulted in him receiving a large number of missions from a wide variety of authorities. Because of his extensive experience in locating evaders and his dogged determination to bring those responsible to justice, he became one of the most in-demand bounty hunters of his era. Throughout his career, John Duncan was involved in a number of high-profile cases, including the hunt for legendary rail robber Sam Bass and the apprehending of outlaw Bill Longley. Both of these cases garnered significant media attention. His unflinching passion for doing what is right and his tireless pursuit of justice won him the respect of his colleagues and instilled dread in the hearts of those who broke the law intentionally or unintentionally. However, it is important to point out that John Duncan's existence as a bounty hunter was not without its share of controversies. During that period, the techniques that bounty hunters used frequently drew criticism because they included the use of violence and lacked any kind of monitoring. Some people thought of John as a hero, while others saw him as a vigilante who worked beyond the constraints of the legal system. The gradual decline in demand for bounty hunters marked a significant shift in the Wild West era as the authority of the law began to take root. As the end of this tumultuous period drew nearer, the need for independent enforcers like John Duncan diminished. Recognizing the changing times, John made the decision to retire from his life as a bounty hunter in 1892, bidding farewell to the adrenaline-fueled pursuits that had defined his existence for so long. With his family in tow, John relocated to Dallas, Texas, seeking a fresh start and a quieter way of life. Settling into the city, he embraced a more sedate and peaceful lifestyle, far removed from the dangers and uncertainties of his bounty hunting days. While he occasionally regaled his loved ones and acquaintances with tales of his past experiences, for the most part, John withdrew from the public eye and slipped into relative anonymity. The legacy left by John Riley Duncan as a bounty hunter in the Wild West stands as a living testament to the challenges and opportunities that characterized that era. It is a testament to the resilience, resourcefulness, and unwavering determination of those who sought adventure and fortune in the untamed frontier. John's formidable presence and relentless pursuit of justice made him a formidable opponent in the fight against lawlessness. However, it is important to note that the image of the Wild West bounty hunter is not without its complexities. While some celebrated John Duncan as a hero, others viewed him as a vigilante operating outside the confines of the legal system. The methods employed by bounty hunters during this era often came under scrutiny for their use of violence and the absence of formal oversight. Thus, John's legacy embodies the intricacies and contradictions of the times in which he lived. The romanticized notions of the frontier and the rugged individualism that once defined the West gave way to a more structured and regulated society. The tales of the Wild West captured the imagination of generations to come, but it is figures like John Duncan who remind us of the intricacies and subtleties that shaped life during that turbulent period. John Riley Duncan's journey from a Kentucky farm boy to a legendary bounty hunter exemplifies the spirit of adventure and the pursuit of justice that defined the Wild West era. His decision to retire and settle down in Dallas marked the end of an era for him and the bounty hunter profession as a whole. Yet his legacy continues to live on as a testament to the triumphs and complexities of life in the Wild West, a constant reminder of the challenges and opportunities that defined the era. That's all for today. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos. See you next time.